All right. You know what? I don't think we need this, right? Do you need this for purposes of the, you don't, right? You do? Should I put it down here? It's a little, how about that? Is that good? Can you hear it? Alex, can you hear it? Is that your? All right. We'll make this work. Guys, thank you so much for coming out today. It is a beautiful day in Summers County, and I'm very happy to be back here. I've had many enjoyable time in this wonderful county, and folks have treated me so well over the years. So it's great to be here, especially to celebrate the passage of some really important bills that matter to the residents of Summers County, and quite frankly, to every single county across West Virginia. I'm very fortunate to be joined by a lot of the legislators here today, including Delegate Brooks. We have Senator Roland Roberts and Vince Keys. We have Delegate Cooper, and Senator Woodrum, and Senator Tom Willis. And I know there are a lot of other wonderful people here. Good to see you all here today. And as you guys know, when I first took office, I pledged to use good old-fashioned common sense and be guided by West Virginia values. And on day 2, when we came in, we issued a series of executive orders. One of the executive orders was to get DEI out of state government and also our educational institutions. And you wouldn't believe the people who respond, oh, there was no DEI, this is a fishing expedition. Absolutely not. We've proven categorically that DEI is flourishing in the past. That's a huge problem in the state government, and so we've had to clean up that mess. And I'm happy to do that, but this really matters, and here's why it matters. I want everyone looking to understand that every person should be treated with dignity and respect, and we should view people equally, both under the eyes of God and the rule of law. That's what this is about. We need to treat everyone equally under the eyes of God and under the rule of law. Don't let anyone try to convince you that this is something other than that. And we need to treat people well and respect everyone, regardless of the differences that we have between us. That's a wonderful thing to do. They'll come up with some other arguments about why one group should get a special preference over another. But don't buy into that. No one's any worse or any better than anyone under the eyes of God or the rule of law. That is something that West Virginians believe passionately about. I think the residents of Summers County believe that passionately too. So that's part of the reason I wanted to come here. We also wanted to talk about protecting the most vulnerable around us, particularly kids, and not subjecting them to a lot of the far left, the woke ideology that we've seen across the country in recent years. These principles are things that West Virginia should demand from their elected officials. God looks at us as equals, and we have to make sure that we're carrying that out through the legislative process and the executive process. Now, unfortunately, for far too long, West Virginia, including state government and the educational system, it harbored a number of discriminatory practices, and DEI existed. These so-called DEI practices, they might sound well-meaning, but they actually are designed to divide and pit people, one set of groups against another. And we don't think that's appropriate. And I don't think that should ever happen in West Virginia. Now, we come to you today because this is an important concept. We need every citizen to play a role in West Virginia's comeback. And so, as an Attorney General, I take this concept of treating everyone the same very seriously. The equal application of the law is a bedrock principle for our state and for our nation. When I gave my inauguration speech, I pledged to root out DEI and eliminate the woke virus from the schools. Now, I can report to you that we are following through with that promise, and that's a wonderful reason to be here today. DEI is dead in the Mountain State. Today, I will be ceremoniously signing Senate Bill 474 to end DEI programs in West Virginia. And this bill officially eliminates DEI programs, training, activities, and officers from the executive branch and primary and secondary schools, colleges, and universities practicing that. It is not meant to limit the First Amendment rights. It is not. This also requires higher education institutions to reallocate any unexpended funds that would have been used on DEI projects. I want to thank all the legislators for all their very hard work to get this across the line. And now we make more progress in terms of going after that woke virus that's invaded West Virginia and many other parts of the country. I also want to note that next year, hopefully we can take one final step. There was an unfortunate amendment that was included in the House side that we need to address that actually dealt with some of the problems of DEI coming from these accreditation bodies. I'm going to ask the legislature to go in and clean that up. That amendment should never have been in the final law. This law makes progress, and it's good. Happy to sign it today, but we have to make sure that we're rooting out DEI across the board. And I'm looking forward to working with all of you to make that happen. Now, the other reason we're here, as we know, that there have been a lot of efforts over the years, including here in West Virginia, to allow young men to supposedly become young women, and young women to supposedly become young men. This is all nonsense, and we have to call it out for what it is. Well, we're putting an end to that, kids, here in West Virginia. We are already making progress on this issue, I'm happy to report. Several years ago, the legislature passed a law barring men from participating in women's sports. That's in litigation. We've talked about that a little bit. Earlier this year, I was very proud to sign the Riley Gaines Law, which defines terms like men, women, mother, and state code, and allows for single-sex spaces for locker rooms, for changing areas, and domestic violence shelters. This concept that young men can just change and morph into becoming a young woman, I think that puts women at a particular disadvantage and it threatens their safety. That's why I was very happy to sign that Riley Gaines Act into law to protect women and preserve women's spaces. That's critical. But before this year, there was still an opening for our kids to be targeted by this woke virus. And unfortunately, there was a loophole. We'll talk about that in a minute. So some children, we know in West Virginia, but in America, talk about that for a moment. They were given the power to take permanent hormone blockers. In the past, they could have irreversible surgical procedures in an effort to change their sex. Now let's step back for a moment. We don't even let our kids go in to purchase alcohol, tobacco, sign up for the military. Well, we sure as hell should not let our kids mutilate their bodies as well, right? I think that's common sense. While most of Europe and other countries ended this barbaric practice on minors, unfortunately, they're still taking place in many parts of America. Critics call these irreversible and experimental drugs gender-affirming care. But they're affirming nothing but their own delusions while harming and disfiguring our youth while making a profit. Now, in 2023, West Virginia did pass legislation banning these practices for minors, but it left open a loophole. Something you could drive a truck through, and that is being used by doctors to continue mutilating our kids. So today, I will also be ceremoniously signing Senate Bill 299 to close that loophole and officially end the practice of child mutilation in the state of West Virginia. SB 299 prohibits physician assistants, and advanced practice nurses from providing gender reassignment surgery or gender-altering medication to a person under 18 years of age. Also prohibits telehealth medical providers from prescribing or dispensing gender-altering medication to a person under the age of 18. I'm very proud of this simple law. And I want to thank the legislators and all the folks that worked so hard and pushed back about the nonsensical arguments against these laws. I've said that West Virginia is going to lead with common sense. I said we're going to change the way things have been done in the past. The laws that we're signing here today, they do just that. So I'm thanking you all here. Before we do the signings, I want to turn the mics over to anyone who would like to speak. We'll start with Senator Tom Willis. If any one of you would like to say a few words, I will. Senator, thank you.
But I'm Senator Tom Willis from Berkeley County in the Eastern Panhandle, and I'd like to thank the governor and all of Summers County for the invitation to be here today and the hospitality. It was funny just talking in the hallway to Elder Cooper and some of the others. It's amazing how, even though I'm up in the Eastern Panhandle, there's so much family and friends that you guys have up there and vice versa. And West Virginia really is just one big small town. I was honored to present and defend the Senate Bill 474, the DEI, anti-DEI bill in the Senate. It was important to me to warrior for that bill to make sure it got across. And by God's grace and the governor's excellent support and push behind it, we made it into law. And I'll just tell you two quick stories about how this concept of DEI affected me and my family personally in the recent past. One, my daughter just applied to college 2 years ago, and her mother is of Peruvian descent, and so she could qualify as Latina, or she could qualify as white. And we have to fill out the college application, and which one do we choose, Latina or white? And I found myself saying, why am I even having this internal discussion? It's disturbing to me that we had to take into account race in the college application. She was a three-letter varsity athlete. She had a 4.6 something GPA. And she was in leadership, all these clubs. And I thought, we're hung up on which is the correct box on race to select here. And praise God, that's not going to be the case anymore as we apply to universities and colleges in West Virginia. The other thing where this has impacted me personally is the military. And I'm still a member of the West Virginia National Guard. And I'm not speaking on behalf of the West Virginia National Guard. I'm just speaking on behalf of Tom Willis, the state senator. But I'll tell you, the last 4 years under the last administration, we really got a heavy dose of this DEI agenda based on race. And what I saw personally was that morale plummeted and recruiting plummeted. We saw both of those things. And when I was in basic training, our drill sergeant said to us, listen, it doesn't matter if you're blue or red, Crips or the Bloods, whether you're white or black, you come from the trailer park or the penthouse, you're all equal in the Army, and you all wear green. And we loved that. And we knew we had to work as a team, and we had each other's backs. And all of a sudden, this DEI comes in and starts to divide people based on race, based on gender. And like I said, thank goodness the new administration of President Trump got rid of that. And what have you seen? Morale has skyrocketed. Recruiting is booming through the roof. People know deep in their hearts what is good and what is evil. And DEI, thanks to the governor's emphasis here, DEI emphasizes evil. Why do I say that? Because it's based on racial discrimination. Right? When you discriminate against someone based on their race, that's evil. When I say it's evil, let me define it a little bit more. It's evil because it's contrary to the nature of God. The good book tells us that in heaven, there's every tribe, every tongue, every people, every nation. And if it's good enough for God to treat everybody equally, maybe it should be good enough for us too. So again, I'd like to Thank the governor for the invitation. Thank all of you for having me. And this is a great day for West Virginia, where we eliminate racism and treat people based on merit and the content of their character as they should be.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. Senator Jack Woodruff is also been a staunch supporter. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's great to be back. Thank you.
Judge, he spoke on DEI. I'll speak just a little bit on the so-called gender department care. That legislation that previously passed, that this legislation is not correct, was never designed to transition anyone. But it's been misused by activist doctors. They judge the loophole in, and it's a great honor for me to be part of correcting that loophole. Growing up, none of us could ever have imagined what's going on today in this country. And to be willing for us to grow up and do our little part to protect West Virginia is a great thing to be a part of it. And I appreciate it, you being here today. And thank all of y'all for coming out to support this effort.
Thank you. He's here, he's in the flesh, he's helping.
To ask me to say a few remarks is probably impossible. But I just want to say this. The legislation that's being ceremoniously signed here today is important to us as adults, but it's more important to those little children that we're going to be dealing with, and that the sheriff is going to have to deal with as they grow up. Some 12, 14 years ago, 12 years ago, we had a little meeting in Charleston among all of the Republican delegates. We decided we'd put out a little bit of information about being on the wrong track. That day, we lined out on the line or picked out a few things that we needed to correct. Down through the years, we keep doing that. Thank God. Thank God. Folks of West Virginia have kept sending us back down there to keep getting us to push back to the right track. And we're getting there. Thanks to our new governor, who I believe is more closely aligned with the legislature and its leadership and senators and other delegates than any governor that I've served. I'm very proud to serve under him. I'm very happy that he's came to peace that's coming to Summers County today. I just wish he was able to see all the roads to the east, but he didn't travel on and just got paid here.
You can come with me everywhere, you know. Thank you very much. Senator Rick Steves, who also represents this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor, for being here today. And really, I'm a Summers County boy. I grew up in Johnny Branch, just right up the road. And this, the reason it is so important that we're all here today is to see how the governor and the legislature, the Senate and the House are all working together to have effective legislation for our children. Because this legislation is directed at protecting our children, and it gives them an opportunity to be judged not on the color of their skin or anything on the outside, but the content of their character. And you know, there's a famous Bible verse in Psalm 44:21 says, "God knows the secrets of our hearts." And I think that this legislation truly looks at the individual and what their heart is, how they believe, and they can be judged upon it. Now we can get away from us setting all these rules and regulations and judging people based upon what they look like, and we can really look at individuals like what their character is. And that is why it's so important that everyone is working together. And I really do want to celebrate the governor and his ability to be able to lead and help work with the Senate and the House to get this effective legislation. We needed this, and you know, and we struggled with trying to get it across the finish line, but it's here today, and what a great place. I mean, I am so thankful to be back in Summers County where we can start this, this process. So, Governor, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you all being here.
Now we have another important champion protecting our young women and our children from all the terrible influences, Senator Roland Rollins. Thank you.
Well, I have to say thank you to the governor for coming to Southern West Virginia. It's good to have a governor that cares for us in the real Southern West Virginia. So often, Charleston and Huntington and across through that area, that corridor, it blocks the attention for down here. And everyone in this room senses that desire to grow and develop our region of the state so that we won't be at the lowest end in everything. So thank you for coming here and honoring Summers County. I, of course, have been involved with children with Christian education for almost 50 years. I deal with them today. I had 35, basically 72 high schoolers in a couple of classes this morning in my school there in Beaver, and engaged and involved with them. And I am glad that West Virginia is turning the corner on some of these philosophical things that have just kind of infiltrated and created awful, awful things. They've divided us, they've angered people. You can be seated, I think that's fine. It's appropriate for us to protect the children, and we have outside forces and entities, and I'm glad we've got a governor with some backbone and some gumption that will stand for things that are right, even though it's not easy. We acknowledge that, and we support you, and are very thankful. I was on the Senate floor when that loophole amendment passed, and I, of course, voted against it, but lost that one. And I'm glad finally now we've cleared it out and protect those children, those minors. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it. And now I'm really excited to have a delegate who works tirelessly for his district in Southern West Virginia. Delegate Brooks, you've been doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. So, thank you. I just want to thank the governor for being here. And as Patrick Roberts, Senator Roberts said, from Southern West Virginia, really appreciate that. It means a lot to us. Thank you for your leadership on these issues. You getting behind these things really gives us an extra motivation to get things done down there. In 2022, I was proud to co-sponsor the bill to end transgender surgeries in West Virginia. We got that bill through, but it did have this amendment that we're correcting with this legislation the governor signing today, with the hormone therapy that was added into that bill late in the session. So, and the governor alluded to another issue that we have in another bill. When we pass these bills, there's always going to be maybe little portions of it that we didn't quite get right the first time. We have to go back and do a little bit of cleanup. But it's just a marginal, you take baby steps and then you get where you all want to go. So we're doing some of that today with this bill signing. Both of these bills are very important for our people. And that's what we're down there for, is to take care of our people and do what's right. These children deserve our protection. They're the adults. We're supposed to look out for them and make sure that they're taken care of and they're protected. And these bills do just that in a variety of ways. So, Governor, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being here. I thank all of you for having me today.
Thank you. Now, without further ado, we're going to sign these into law ceremoniously, and excited to be here today. This is a terrific day for our children, and I want to make sure that West Virginia is always out in front leading to protect our kids from all the forces that would try to turn things upside down. So grateful that you're all here, especially appreciative not only of the legislators who were here, took the time out of the day to come, but for the broad support in the legislature for West Virginia values. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right. There we go. That's good.